Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. The nurse planted a palm on my chest. Family only, flat voice, steady eyes. I'm Mark, 28, I told her, jaw tight. My ex is in there, let me through. She listed the father as unknown, she said, and didn't blink. I leaned around her for a slice of the room. Anna lay turned away, shoulders tight under the sheet. A small cry flicked the air, thin and real. I felt the sound hit bone, then settle. Move me or move aside, I said, because doubt burns. Her badge didn't move, but her feet shifted. I slipped past the frame and stopped at the bassinet. No label showed a father, only a blank line. Anna swallowed hard, eyes on the wall. Leave before my sister calls security, she said, voice low. I'll leave after one look, I said, breathing slow. I glanced down, then looked away fast. Not because of love, because panic can blind. My hands shook, though I kept them at my sides. I could hear my own pulse counting down. Her sister slid in, chin up, phone ready. No scene, she warned, thumb hovering like a trigger. You lost your place months ago, she added, eyes on me. Then why am I here at all, I asked. Because you heard a rumor, she said and smirked. Straight answer, I said, and kept my voice even. Is the child mine or not? Anna's mouth twitched, but she held the same line. It's not yours, she said, staring at the rail. She flinched when the baby hiccuped, which said more. I stepped back 1 foot and felt paper under my heel. A clipboard corner stuck from a linen cart. I lifted it, then caught the printed field. Father blank, the space glared like an order. My grip tightened so I wouldn't rip the form. Put that down, the sister snapped, moving closer. It tells me nothing, I said, and set it back. It tells me you closed a door I didn't see, I added. Close it again by lying now, I said, breath clipped. Anna squeezed her eyes shut like bracing for impact. A monitor beeped hard and drew heads from the hall. The nurse reappeared, calmer than both of us. Keep voices down, she warned, and checked the lines. I bit my tongue and counted 4 breaths. I needed a plan that didn't end with handcuffs. I took out my phone and typed 3 words. I want testing. Anna watched my thumbs move and looked away fast. Her sister laughed once, short and mean. You don't test what you don't own, she said, enjoying it. I'm not here to own anyone, I said, jaw set. I'm here for truth, I added, because truth hurts less later. Anna's fingers traced the blanket, slow and nervous. She wouldn't look at me long enough to lie clean. That was the first crack I trusted. A doctor pushed in with a polite nod. 2 minutes, he said, not asking for agreement. He checked numbers and scribbled something quick. We need quiet, he added, eyes flicking to me. I stepped back but not out. Anna finally faced me, eyes red but sharp. You want quiet, she whispered, voice almost steady. Then leave while you still can. I shook my head once and didn't move. She saw that and blanched like a secret slipped. I took a breath and lowered my tone. I will set the appointment today, I said. Chain of custody, 0 mistakes, full report. Her jaw clenched and the sister shifted closer to the bassinet. Fear moves people before logic ever does. Another cry rose, longer now, demanding space. Both women turned at once, instinct beating pride. I stayed still and watched their hands tremble. My chest hurt because love and doubt fight dirty. I knew this wouldn't end inside this room. Security walked past the door and didn't stop. The nurse shot me a look like a final warning. I nodded once to show I heard the rules. I backed to the threshold and kept my eyes high. Leaving would cost me leverage I needed. At the hall desk, I asked for a notary list. The clerk frowned, then slid a brochure across. Testing labs on the back, she muttered without interest. I snapped a photo and pocketed the paper. Proof begins with small steps nobody can erase. On my way out, a stroller ad caught my eye. I forced myself not to look twice because hope is loud. I called a clinic and booked the first slot. Tomorrow morning, the voice confirmed, tone neutral. I sent the time to Anna and waited on a read. 3 dots appeared, then vanished like a dare. No message arrived, only silence with a pulse. I leaned against the wall until my legs stopped shaking. Someone laughed down the corridor and it sounded cruel. I realized I had crossed a line I couldn't uncross. I walked back to the door for one last pass. Anna was rocking small movements, controlled breaths. Her sister watched me like I might steal air. I lifted my hands to show I'd take nothing. Tomorrow, I said and let the word hang. Anna nodded once barely, but it was movement. I felt the floor tilt because a path had opened. The nurse turned away like she hadn't seen it. I stepped into the hall and kept walking. I didn't look back because the next look would break me. I hit call before the elevator doors met. Earliest slot just opened, the receptionist clipped. Confirm it, I answered, palm sweating inside my pocket. Bring identification and consent forms, she added, then hung up. The doors closed on my reflection like a dare. A buzz landed. Anna's text blinked once. I'll consider it. Another ping followed from an unknown number. Back off or we escalate, the message warned. I screenshotted both threads and saved copies twice. Paranoia felt practical, not dramatic. I wanted facts more than pride right then. Fear sharpened me like caffeine without the buzz. Another ping arrived with a photo of a lawyer card. Who is this? I typed, keeping it clean. A friend who protects families, the number replied. Protect them from what? I sent back immediately. From chaos you bring, they answered without hesitation. I pocketed the phone and felt my pulse jump. The clinic emailed instructions with a barcode. I printed consent forms at a pharmacy kiosk. A kid stared at me like I might explode. I steadied my breathing because calm sells credibility. Behind me, two voices whispered my name like news. Outside the hospital doors, a heavy-set man waited. He watched me, then shook his head once. You'll regret this, he growled, stepping in close. Wrong guy to threaten, I answered and held his gaze. He smiled without humor and bumped my shoulder hard. I followed him 3 steps and stopped cold. Security could end my access in seconds. I let him go and wrote down features instead. Not for revenge, for records that outlive spin. He turned the corner, whistling like it was done. Anna texted again while I walked. Bring a witness tomorrow, short line, no emoji. I read it twice, unsure if invite or trap. Already arranged, I replied, even though I hadn't. Sometimes bluffing buys time you pay back later. I called my cousin from the garage ramp. Stick to rules, she warned without hello. They watch visitor lists today, she continued with urgency. She asked about your appointment time, my cousin added. Someone inside was counting my steps. I reached the lab and checked paperwork. The clerk scanned the barcode and nodded once. Collection tomorrow at 8 sharp, she confirmed crisply. Any complications to expect? I asked, voice steady. Only refusal, she answered, eyes flat as glass. I bought a disposable notebook at the corner stand. I labeled each page with times and names. Writing steadied my hands better than deep breaths. I logged every message and every bump. Silence looked smaller when pinned to a line. Back at the ward, the sister hovered near the door. She blocked half the frame by leaning casual. Visiting hour is over for you, she announced. I ignored the posture and lifted my phone. Tomorrow at 8, I said and showed the barcode. Anna turned her head an inch and paused. Who comes with you? She asked without lifting her eyes. A neutral witness, I answered and kept it vague. Her mouth tightened like a knot pulled too fast. The sister's hand hovered near the call button again. Refuse if you want, I told Anna softly. I'll file for court-ordered testing next, I continued. Her eyes flashed, then smoothed like cooled metal. Court brings headlines, the sister murmured with relish. Anna's fingers clenched the blanket like it might walk away. The heavy-set man reappeared halfway down the hall. He spoke to a nurse and glanced my way. I felt the move and stepped into the threshold. Any more visitors for her today? I asked calmly. The nurse frowned at the chart and shrugged. Leave us 5 minutes, Anna whispered toward the floor. Her sister bristled, then backed into the hall. I stayed near the door with both hands visible. I never wanted war, she breathed without looking. Then stop firing warnings, I answered, heartbeat loud. Promise me one thing, she said, voice nearly flat. If the result favors you, handle it slow. I can't promise slow, I replied after a beat. I can promise lawful and careful, I added instead. She nodded once, then turned her face away. I set the envelope with forms on the table. Scan this code at the lab entrance, I instructed. Bring identification and sign there, I continued evenly. She slid the envelope closer without opening it. Her fingers trembled, then steadied like a decision forming. The sister returned with a paper cup for herself. She eyed the envelope like it might bite. We're not agreeing to anything today, she announced coldly. Tomorrow decides, I answered and stepped back. Anna's jaw eased for the first time all day. As I left, the heavyset man shadowed my path. He matched pace, then dropped a final line. You'll come out poorer either way. Not poorer in truth, I countered without stopping. He peeled off and made a call I couldn't hear. Outside, my phone buzzed with a calendar alert. I added Tusi, Ontax as witnesses and hit send. Both replied with a thumbs up without questions. Good friends ask later when timing is brutal. I breathed out and felt control return in inches. Before sleep, another message arrived from the unknown number. Last chance to walk away, it read like a verdict. I typed 3 words and didn't edit once. See you tomorrow. I killed the screen and waited for morning like a courtroom. I reached the clinic 5 minutes early and stayed moving. A guard watched the entrance like he knew my face. My witnesses arrived together and kept their voices low. We sign and observe, I told them, pulse steadying. Across the street, the heavy guy leaned on a railing. Anna texted from a rideshare with one line. 2 minutes. I answered with the sweet number and nothing else. The unknown number pinged again with a skull emoji. I muted it and filed that move for later. The receptionist slid a clipboard through the slot. Chain of custody requires exact names, she recited crisply. I wrote slow so my handwriting stayed clear. My witnesses added their signatures on separate lines. Ink felt like armor when words were cheap. Anna stepped in with her sister at her elbow. No greetings, only breath and locked jaws. The heavy guy entered behind them and took a chair. Public lobby, he announced to nobody in particular. The receptionist tapped a bell and summoned the collector. We sat in a small room with a camera. The collector scanned our forms and pointed at envelopes. Your samples get sealed and initialed on the seam. Breaks void everything, she added in a monotone. I nodded because process beats drama when stakes climb. The swab touched my cheek and scraped once firmly. I kept my eyes on the lens and counted down. She labeled 2 tubes with identical numbers. I initialed both seals and felt control return. Small steps build a bridge when trust is gone. Anna's turn came and she stiffened at the swab. Her sister squeezed her shoulder and stared at me. The collector repeated the steps without any wasted motion. Names, barcodes, initials, sealed pouches. My witnesses watched like referees at a final round. The collector lifted a locked bag for transport. Courier arrives in 3 minutes, she said without warmth. Results release only to the authorized recipients. She pointed to the consent section and waited. I checked each box twice before my pen touched. Footsteps stopped at the doorway and the heavy guy smirked. Last chance to rethink, he tossed, eyes on Anna. My witnesses shifted closer until he backed out. Silence returned but left a chill that stuck. The camera light kept its unblinking stare watching. A courier in uniform signed for the bag. The collector read the serial number aloud for all. My witnesses repeated it together so it would stick. The courier zipped the bag inside another pouch. 2 seals clicked and I felt a knot loosen. At the exit, the sister blocked me with a final jab. You forced this, she hissed, nails biting her palm. I documented it, I answered and kept walking. Anna matched my pace for 6 steps then stopped. I need 1 hour alone, she breathed, eyes unfixed. 1 hour, I agreed but added one condition. No more threats from that number today. She unlocked her phone and typed a message fast. A minute later, the skull sender fell silent. I took the quiet as a temporary truce. My cousin buzzed during the crosswalk countdown. They logged your arrival at 8 on the dot. Good, I said, keeping my voice even. Also, someone asked if you brought a lawyer. Now the truce felt thinner than paper. I waited in the hospital cafeteria for her message. Both witnesses sat apart to avoid attention. The heavy guy loitered near the gift counter. He pretended to browse and watch the doors. Predators circle when they fear the net closing. Anna finally wrote 3 words that pulled me upright. Come to nursery. I reached the ward and found her outside the glass. She didn't look at me, only at the chart. A blank field still waited for the father line. We can add the name after the report, she murmured. Her sister rolled her eyes and crossed her arms. I kept my hands visible so no one panicked. I will accept the report like scripture, I said. The heavy guy appeared at the far end again. 2 officers stepped off the elevator and paused. They spoke to the desk and scanned the hall. The heavy guy shifted his weight and drifted away. My chest eased a notch because consequences arrived. Anna watched them like another storm on the radar. The nurse from day 1 noticed me and approached. Any trouble today? Her voice stayed professional and cool. Only observers, I answered with a thin smile. She glanced at the officers and nodded once. Keep it peaceful or I stop visits, she warned. I sent my witnesses home with thanks and rides. They left through separate exits by prior plan. I returned to the glass and stood on tape. Anna exhaled like she had been holding air too long. The sister checked her watch and backed off 2 steps. I blocked the number, Anna announced without looking at me. Appreciated, I replied, hands still quiet at my sides. She pressed her forehead to the glass for a beat. Results could change everything, she whispered like a confession. They will change only what was false, I answered. A volunteer wheeled a cart past and paused. Congratulations, she offered to Anna with a warm nod. Anna smiled for the first time since yesterday. The smile slid away as fast as it came. Hope visits before it moves in or runs. The officers looped back and spoke with the desk. The nurse pointed toward the waiting area casually. The heavy guy was gone like he never existed. His absence felt temporary, not defeated. Silence hummed with unfinished business and teeth. Anna pulled a folded paper from her pocket. She held it out with a reluctant hand. A handwritten note from her father stared up. Do not allow his name on any document. She let me keep it as proof of pressure. I photographed the note against a plain wall. Then I returned it so she kept control. Keep it safe, she murmured and tucked it away. Her eyes were softer but still guarded. Trust grows like scar tissue, tough and slow. A pediatrician waved Anna toward the exam room. The sister moved to follow and then hesitated. She shot me a look that carried less venom. Wait here, Anna told her and slipped inside. The door clicked and left me with the noise. When they returned, Anna's gaze held longer on me. Feeding schedule is set, she said with a steadier tone. Good, I answered, careful to avoid any demands. We can coordinate after the result lands. She nodded like coordination used to be impossible. I checked my phone and found a new email. The lab confirmed receipt with timestamps and barcodes. I forwarded the notice to Anna without comment. She read it on her lock screen and breathed out. Process advances while feelings crawl behind it. As I turned to leave, the unknown number reappeared. Enjoy the calm, the message read with a snake emoji. I screenshotted and drafted a police report template. Anna saw my face and lifted a brow. Do it, she urged, surprising both of us. I walked to the lobby desk and requested assistance. The officer took my phone and wrote the details. Document every contact and keep replies minimal, he advised. He handed me a case number on a receipt. Paper shields are thin but sharper than fists. Back upstairs, Anna stood alone at the window. Her sister was gone and the hallway rested. We talk again after discharge, she said quietly. Text me logistics and I will respond. That olive branch felt fragile and necessary. I left the ward and let the elevator doors close. My reflection looked older by a decade I hadn't lived. I pressed my palm to the rail and steadied. The phone vibrated with the courier's arrival confirmation. Every ping now carried weight like a loaded verdict. Discharge orders dropped before noon, earlier than anyone warned me. A nurse rolled the cart to the doorway and waited. Sign here for release, she told Anna, eyes cautious. The father line stayed empty like a fuse. My chest tightened because timing never plays fair. Anna traced the blank slot with her thumb. I'm adding nothing until the report lands. The nurse nodded once and checked the clock. You have an hour to vacate the room. Deadlines push people into messy choices. The enforcer reappeared near the elevators with a grin. He tapped his phone like he owned the schedule. I kept my distance and lifted my camera. He turned his shoulder, didn't want proof on file. Avoiding photos screams intent when tempers climb. A new text pinged from a throwaway account. Cancel the lab or your car gets keyed. I logged the threat under the case number. Then I sent a single reply forwarded to police. The typing bubble opened and vanished twice. My cousin slipped me a folded note near the desk. Visitor list edited after your appointment, she whispered. 2 names added, both variations of mine. Someone planned to fake a signature during chaos. I felt the floor shift under every step. I asked the clerk for a copy of forms. She frowned until the officer from yesterday appeared. He checked my ID and approved the request. Paper slid across with crisp edges and weight. I photographed every line because memory lies. Anna's sister wheeled out the bassinet chin high. She stared me down until I dropped my gaze. Meet us at the curb, she ordered, voice clipped. I'm walking with you, I countered without raising volume. She bristled but didn't argue in front of staff. The enforcer paced to the exit and made a call. 2 men waited outside near the loading zone. Their eyes tracked the cart like hawks. I stepped between them and the path. A uniformed officer shifted position and watched them closely. Anna adjusted the blanket with careful hands. Straight to the car, she murmured without looking up. I nodded and matched her pace to the door. Every step felt loud even though we were silent. The men peeled off when they saw the badge. At the curb, a rideshare pulled up and idled. Driver confirmed the name, then locked the doors. Company policy, he muttered, eyes on the mirror. The enforcer snapped a photo of the license plate. I snapped one of him doing it balance. We loaded the seat while the nurse checked straps. Return tomorrow for hearing screening, she noted briskly. Bring the card they gave you. Anna tucked it inside her jacket without comment. I logged that detail because patterns matter later. Back inside, I filed a request at records. Add a note that legal acknowledgement is pending. The clerk hesitated, then typed slowly and printed confirmation. She stamped the page with a time mark. Paper trails beat rumors when stories collide. My phone buzzed with a call from the lab. Verification question for release recipients, the tech asked. I answered with the passphrase we set yesterday. He read a name that had tried to add themselves. Not mine, but close enough to fool a sleepy clerk. I returned to the ward doors and found Anna waiting. Her sister headed for the parking garage with purpose. We ride in separate cars, Anna said, steady now. Less predictable, I agreed, keeping my voice plain. Trust builds in inches and breaks in leaps. The enforcer shadowed the garage ramp again, persistent. He leaned into a phone and waved at nobody. I lifted my camera one more time and filmed. He ducked behind a column like a bad magician. Hiding confirms more than talking ever does. Anna texted me a new address for the night. Short-term rental near the river, no relatives near it. Meet at 7 for supplies, she added. I responded with a thumbs up and a screenshot of the case number. Her reply came back fast, thank you, keep everything. The elevator doors opened on a crowded lobby. A middle-aged man stepped out, face I knew from photos. Her father. He froze when he saw me and scanned for support. No backup in sight, only 2 nurses and the officer. Turn around, he ordered, voice quiet but sharp. The officer drifted closer and crossed his arms. I'm here to see my granddaughter, the man continued. After the mother approves, the officer replied, neutral. Her father's jaw flexed like a door hinge ready to snap. Anna appeared at the far end and stopped. She measured the distance like a chess player. Let us pass, she called, chin lifted. Her father shifted aside, then edged toward the form's desk. I followed him and planted both hands on the counter. Records are closed to non-parents, the clerk announced firmly. He smiled, too calm for the moment. Good thing I am family, he said with a shrug. Not recognized without documents, the clerk returned, eyes hard. He glanced at me like I wasn't there, dangerous. I pulled the confirmation page from my pocket. Pending acknowledgement noted, I told the clerk. She checked the stamp and nodded once. Her father exhaled through his nose, controlled rage. He walked away but dialed fast, regrouping for later. Outside, the air felt charged with unfinished business. Anna met my eyes and held them longer than before. I want a safe handoff plan for tonight, she said. Neutral place, cameras, 2 witnesses, I answered immediately. She agreed with a single nod that felt heavy. We set the time and exchanged exact addresses. I shared my route in the app for transparency. Bring formula and a ledger for expenses, she added. Done, I said and opened a new sheet on my phone. Money records cut future arguments before they bloom. The unknown number lit up again with a new trick. A screenshot of a fake lab page with my name. The font was off by a mile and the logo wrong. I circled the errors and forwarded to the officer. A minute later he replied, "We'll add forgery attempt." Anna watched my face as I typed the report. "Is this worth it?" she asked, voice almost a whisper. "Truth is expensive," I answered, keeping my tone calm. "Lies cost more when they win early." She nodded like a verdict had landed inside her chest. Her ride pulled up, driver impatient and curious. She buckled in without glancing back. I matched the car as it merged onto the avenue. No tail behind us, just ordinary traffic and a ticking day. Ordinary never lasts when pressure builds. At a red light, my phone buzzed with a calendar invite. Hospital appointment for the screening tomorrow morning. 2 names on the attendee list, now hers and mine. She had added me without a speech or lecture. A small door opened and something stepped through. The enforcer's car appeared in the mirror 2 blocks later. He kept distance, but the rhythm was obvious. I switched lanes twice and confirmed the mirror pattern. Then I rolled into a police lot and parked. He kept going, then vanished into midday noise. I sat there until my hands steadied again. The officer on duty recognized the case number and waved me in. We logged the tail, the fake page, the messages. He suggested a temporary protection request before results. I signed the form while my phone hummed with new alerts. A final text landed from Anna before we met again. "Bring a portable camera for the handoff tonight." Short line, clear intent. I packed the gear and checked the time. 7 felt close and trouble felt closer. I set the camera rolling before I stepped from the car. The parking lot sat empty except for 1 idling sedan. My second recorder blinked and logged the timestamp automatically. A man smoked near the stairwell and watched me. I kept walking because hesitation invites company. Anna texted the unit number and a single word. "No." I took the stairs to avoid tight spaces. My bag held formula, receipts, and the expense ledger. Every step sounded louder than it should on purpose. A woman from the rental office waited at the door. "Filming allowed in common areas only," she recited. "We need a safe exchange under surveillance," I answered calmly. She nodded and pointed to the corner camera. "Keep voices down or neighbors call us." Anna opened before I knocked and waved me inside. Her jaw worked like she had bitten through steel. "Kitchen table," she said, gesturing to a cleared space. I placed the ledger and capped pen on top. Her sister hovered by the window and scrolled. "First, ground rules," I started and raised my phone. 2 hours, you record, I record." Anna tapped her screen and started a timer. "No unannounced visitors," she added without looking up. That line made my shoulders loosen for one breath. We filmed the sealed bags with their barcodes. I logged amounts and held each receipt to the lens. Anna placed her copy of the schedule beside mine. "Naps at 9 and 1, she read flat. Her sister sighed and wrote down the same. A knock broke the rhythm and stripped the room. 3 beats. Another knock, heavier and impatient. The office woman reappeared with a clipboard and a smile. "Package for a new tenant," she chirped, wrong timing. I moved to the peephole and checked the hall. The smoker from the stairwell stood beside her. He held a large envelope and watched the door. "Wrong unit," I called and kept the deadbolt locked. His eyes narrowed like he knew better. "Serve and go," he muttered and raised the envelope. The office woman stepped back and avoided his gaze. I kept the camera pointed at the gap. "Slide it under," I told him and waited. He hesitated long enough to show his nerves. Papers slid in with a scrape and stopped. I filmed the top page and read the header. Emergency petition for temporary guardianship tomorrow morning. Anna's breath hitched, then flattened to a line. Her sister swore under her breath and gripped the chair. I opened the envelope without touching anything else. Service affixed to this address, time stamped 10 minutes prior. The name at the bottom matched her father's handwriting. My phone buzzed with a new message instantly. "See you in court," the unknown number wrote like a cheer. "Police report gets updated tonight," I told Anna evenly. "Bring these pages and the earlier note." She rubbed her temples and nodded once. The timer on her phone ticked in strict silence. Every second felt like a fuse inching forward. Another knock came, softer, almost polite. The office woman peeked back into frame. Two men downstairs asked for apartment keys. My recorder caught her words clean and sharp. She held the clipboard like a shield she didn't trust. "Call security and stay near the lobby," I instructed. She hustled away with quick small steps. Anna lifted the baby carrier and secured the strap. "Moving to my cousin's place after this handoff." Her voice trembled, then steadied like she chose fear's target. We finished the ledger entry and both signed. I filmed our initials and the total for today. Anna pressed her finger over the seal on the ledger. "Keep duplicates off-site," she warned without drama. I nodded because that was already my plan. The stairwell door slammed, and footsteps rushed upward. Her sister killed the room light and froze by the wall. I stood between the table and the hallway. The camera light blinked like a tiny heartbeat. Footsteps stopped outside and held their breath. "Maintenance," a voice called with forced casual tone. The peephole showed the smoker holding a wrench wrong. "Come tomorrow," I answered through the door. "Repairs requested today," he argued and jiggled the handle. Metal scraped and the frame shuddered like a warning. Anna typed with both thumbs and kept her face blank. 30 seconds later, a siren wailed nearby and grew louder. The footsteps retreated down the stairwell fast. Tires squealed in the lot and then silence. Her sister exhaled, slow and shaky finally. A quiet knock followed and my chest tensed again. "Office," the woman whispered close to the door. "Police outside." I opened with the chain set and looked. Two officers waited behind her and scanned the hall. We gave them the envelope and the time-stamped video. They wrote fast and photographed the doorframe and hinges. "Make a copy of the petition tonight," one advised. He handed me a number for overnight assistance. "File service objections if timing looks illegal." Anna leaned against the table and watched his pen. Her eyes were glassy but focused and hard. "I will testify," she said, voice clipped and clear. The officer met her stare and nodded once. "We prefer witnesses who stick to facts." After they left, we returned to the exchange. I recorded the formula amounts in the spare clothes. Anna filmed my hands placing each item into the bag. We repeated dates and times for visitation requests. The timer beeped and ended the 2-hour window. "Do you want to hold her?" Anna asked suddenly. I froze because the camera captured everything mercilessly. She lifted the carrier without looking at my face. My arms knew what to do before my voice. The world narrowed to weight, breath, and responsibility. A phone buzzed on the counter and everyone startled. Unknown number again, a photo of my car outside. "Nice dashcam," the text read with a grin emoji. I tapped the live feed and sent a screenshot back. The figure at my bumper looked up, caught. The office woman returned with a small boxed device. "Parking lot cameras record to this unit tonight," she offered. "We lend them during disputes." I plugged it in and paired both recorders quickly. Now every angle had a witness with a battery. Time to switch households. We filmed the handoff with a clear view of our faces. Anna read the time aloud and the address. I read the terms of return tomorrow after the screening. We both signed with firm strokes that didn't shake. I carried the carrier to the door and paused. "Anything else for tonight?" I asked without pushing. Anna hesitated, then slid me a folded card. "A family pediatrician, not from her father's list. Use this if anything feels wrong," she said. The hallway was empty and smelled like rain about to start. I moved fast and watched every corner like a chessboard. At the lot, my dashcam blinked and mapped the frames. A sedan rolled past and slowed at my space. I stared through the windshield until it drifted on. I locked the carrier in and hit the home route. A new text buzzed from Anna before I left the lot. Court starts 9 sharp. I replied with 3 words I could stand behind. We come prepared together. Our case was called before I sat. The bailiff's voice cut the room clean. Anna stood at the opposite table and gripped her folder. Her father occupied the first row like a statue. I kept my shoulders square and waited for impact. Any emergencies to address? The judge asked, eyes on the docket. Anna raised the petition from last night. Filed under false urgency, I said, stepping to the mic. I held up the police case number for context. The judge nodded once and set the tone sharper. Her father cleared his throat and lifted a hand. Child needs stability, he announced, chin high. Stability comes from truth, I answered, palms open. The judge raised a finger and both of us froze. One at a time, documented facts only. My phone vibrated in my pocket and stopped. The clerk glanced up, annoyed but patient. Anna's screen lit too, then blacked out fast. We both understood the same thought at once. The lab was moving while we argued. Any pending genetic report? The judge asked, scanning forms. Courier delivered samples yesterday at 8:11, I said. Release set for both parties, Anna added without looking at me. The judge signed a short order for expedited notice. Hold on guardianship until results arrive. Her father leaned forward with a tight smile. He whispered to the bulky man beside him. The man rolled his neck and stared through me. A deputy shifted near the doorway and watched them. The temperature in the room rose by degrees. The clerk read my recordings into the record. Video of the hallway threads. The fake page with wrong logos and misspellings. The garage tale documented with time codes. Each clip ended with the judge writing more notes. Anna slid a small card across the table. Hospital confirmed our joint attendance today, she said. The judge clasped her hands and considered the line. Cooperation noted, she said, softer than before. Her father's jaw clenched hard enough to click. I asked for a temporary protection order covering contact. The deputy handed the judge my incident log. Granted for 7 days, the judge ruled, voice even. Non-family agents included, she added, eyes on the muscle. He sat back, but not by choice. My phone buzzed again and didn't stop. Anna S. did the same unmistakable rhythm. We both asked to check in plain view. The judge nodded and folded her arms. I opened the email with both hands steady. Report available, secure link inside. The courtroom fell into a thin quiet. Anna tapped her code and breathed once. I tapped mine and stared at the first line. Probability of paternity, numbers that change lives. I read it twice before air returned. Anna pressed her lips together and reached for the mic. Your Honor, she said, voice firm and clear. The report identifies him as the biological father. Her father looked at the ceiling like it would help. The judge requested the sealed attachment through the clerk. The clerk confirmed the matching identifiers aloud. Court recognizes the result as conclusive for today, the judge said. Her pen moved in quick, efficient strokes. Guardianship request denied on the spot. Her father stood half out of his seat and froze. The deputy's boots headed his way without hurry. The bulky man stared at the floor and swallowed hard. The judge lifted her gaze and waited him out. He sat again with fingers white on the bench. Next steps, the judge continued, back to business. Add the father to the birth record within 48 hours. Temporary schedule drafted now, she said, looking at us. I kept my voice even when I answered. Shared time, neutral pickup points, cameras on. Anna nodded and didn't blink. Agreed with standard safety checks, she added. We traded times like we were splitting a map. Weekdays for routines. Weekends rotating, every word captured by the recorder. The judge slid a printed sheet to the clerk. Violations trigger sanctions, she warned the room. The deputy glanced at the 2 men in the gallery. Their eyes stayed on the floor like it burned. The message landed without extra volume. Court adjourned with a single strike that echoed. Outside the door, the hallway swallowed us again. Anna stopped near the bulletin board and exhaled slow. I lied to keep distance, she whispered, voice rough. Her hands trembled, then flattened like she found balance. I want calm more than revenge, I told her. She watched my face for a long beat. Then prove it at exchanges and in texts, she said. I will, I answered, because proof now means daily choices. The deputy hovered nearby until we separated. The bulky man drifted toward the stairs and checked his phone. The deputy trailed him with bored patience. Her father stayed back and fixed his tie. He walked past me and didn't look over. Winning feels smaller when it breaks someone you know. At records, we filed the acknowledgement without ceremony. The clerk verified the case order and printed the request. Pick up the amended document tomorrow afternoon, she said. Her stamp hit the page with a heavy thud. I took the copy like it might evaporate. Anna texted me from 10 feet away. Meet at the same rental tonight, 8 sharp. I typed back one word that held weight. Confirmed. Her phone buzzed again with another reminder she ignored. The masked contact tried one last trick on my screen. A photo of the courthouse steps with a countdown overlay. I forwarded it to the deputy with the case number. His reply arrived fast and practical. On patrol outside tonight, document any approach. I stepped into the afternoon with the order in hand. Anna walked parallel at a careful distance. Cars rolled by and none slowed to tail us. For the first time in days, movement felt ordinary. Ordinary is fragile, but it held. At the entrance ramp, she paused and looked up. Do you still want the hospital appointment together? She asked. Yes, I answered, no hesitation and no speech. She studied my face and nodded once. Trust doesn't sprint, but it moves. Her ride pulled up and idled with the driver texting. She opened the door, then stopped half-turned. Do you want to hold her after we check in? She asked. My throat closed for a heartbeat and then opened. I'm ready, I said and meant it. She left and I stood with the paper gripped hard. The deputy circled the block like a metronome. My phone buzzed with the lab receipt again, final and clean. I started toward the garage with something steadier inside. Tony, GHT, we trade schedules. Tomorrow we carry her name together, no blanks.